Late O'Clock is an isometric stealth game in which the player plays as someone who is always late to work and must sneak to their desk. During the game, players are able to bribe, distract, or deactivate enemies to avoid being detected. The current game matches very well with our original vision and has very little differences.
During development, providing a solid base of floors and walls, then adding AI and props to fill out the scene on top, everyone had a chance to provide insight in the level building experience. What didn't work was how I attempted to code the camera movement and tracking. It didn't function well with the rest of the game. The most useful skill is how I learned to use each mechanic developed to its fullest, providing different setups and player feedback for varied gameplay.
The technique of scaling each object to fit the level by using the player's size worked well for me when designing levels. This was to make sure that all the levels were in sync. Using Pro Builder did not work for me when I first began designing levels. I could not figure out how to add the textures to Perfect at that time, so instead I decided to just use the objects in Unity. One skill I found most useful was how to use Maya better when creating objects by using certain polygons and then adding textures to them.
Hello, my name is Osiris Wilson. When it comes to the development of this game, I found the best idea and technique I had was coding the AI to be easily placed into each level. A process I realized that did not work was the original way I had coded the AI, which was an unfamiliar way for me and caused nothing but problems, ending with me erasing and redoing it in a more familiar way. The skills I've learned is a better understanding of C# and also the dynamics of working with a team in a more serious environment.
The process of dividing up tasks and watching them go from just an idea to testing to a completed mechanic in our game was something that worked very well. A process that I struggled with at the beginning of this project was my ability to code mechanics to a polished level. I had to challenge myself to further understand the potential of C# to help develop a game with few bugs. The skill I have found most useful is that there are multiple ways to make your mechanic work and that you should acknowledge that, especially if your mechanic isn't working the way your team envisioned it.
The gameplay is similar to other stealth games, in which the player is trying their best to reach a goal without being detected, but with ours you are unable to attack. The player can whistle or use coins to distract enemies off their paths. There are two different enemies with both being able to be deactivated in some way. With our bribe mechanic, the coworker enemy can be given a food item, with the correct one to give being shown by mousing over their body. After doing so, they will move to a spot and dance happily. The robot guard enemy is more difficult to take out, having a switch on its back that can be turned off. After doing so, they will hunch over in place, with them being truly deactivated.
Slowdown traps were designed as an obstacle to slow player movement. The player would interact with the pillar by knocking it over, and the slowdown material would appear on the floor. This would slow the player's overall movement speed. Hazard traps were designed to stop the player, and would cause a game over if the player did not find the proper switch to deactivate the trap. For player feedback, the hazard traps had large sparks coming out of the object to easily identify and let the player know before they were sent to a game over screen by running into the object.
Each object was created on Maya and were made to fit into our theme of gameplay. We wanted to create an atmosphere in which a worker is always late to his desk. Adding items like desks, chairs, tables, and filing cabinets would give the player that feeling of being in a real office setting. The levels were created on Unity and were designed in a way for the player to feel that they were in an office environment. We designed the levels with many different rooms and took the time to fill them each in with the different props created to fit with our theme of an ever-changing workplace.
The current game is very similar to what we had originally envisioned 5 months ago. We wanted a quirky, comedy-like stealth game that had an ever-changing office to provide obstacles the player would never expect. Things that were in the original design of the game but did not make it through development were smaller things that could have added more to the variety of the office. The only major change was our score system, going from a point system to a 3-star system. Overall, our team scoped this project very well, so there was little to change from the original design.